Selamat datang di channel West Papua. Ikuti channel ini agar Anda dapat update terbaru dari kami.
A protester is dead after almost a week of unrest in Papua in Indonesia. The protests were triggered after videos circulated widely online showing police, backed by soldiers, calling Papuan students monkeys and dogs. People there are renewing calls for a referendum on their independence. In response, the Indonesian government has shut down the internet in an effort to restore peace. And more than 1,000 troops have also been sent in to quell the protests. Papua is a former Dutch colony that is ethnically and culturally distinct from much of Indonesia. It's located on the far east of the country, centered on the island of New Guinea, but it represents a small minority of the population of Indonesia. Papua was incorporated into the country in 1969 after a UN-sponsored ballot that was seen as a sham by many. Joining us now is Benny Wenda. He's a West Papua independence leader and founder of the Free West Papua campaign. He has been living in exile in London, England since 2003, and that's where we've reached him this evening. Sir, thank you for making time for us tonight. Let's begin with the latest news we're getting on the ground, which is that now a protester has been killed in the ongoing riots that are taking place in this part of Indonesia. It's a story that's not been getting a lot of attention. With the death of this protester, do you think the world will finally start paying attention?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is the first time, it's an uprising. Last 50 years, no one hear our cry for justice and freedom. We demand a referendum for West Papuan people to free from Indonesia. But because of the media are banned by Indonesia government, Amnesty, Red Cross are totally banned last 50 years. So I think this is the, the beginning of the people are coming out and express themselves, call a referendum, independent from Indonesia.
Now, for our audience who may not be as familiar with this story, why is it that the West Papuans want independence from Indonesia?
West Papua used to be the Dutch colony. Then later on, 1963, Indonesia illegally occupied. Since then, the Indonesia massacre my people. 500,000 men, women has been killed up to now. So that's why they want to independent, because Indonesia treat my people differently, because we are different. That is for sure. And linguistically, geographically, culturally, we are not connected. So we are connected with the people in the Pacific. So that's why if we live with Indonesia next 10, 20 years, we will be disappear. So that's why we are asking Indonesia government to give us freedom and independence. We don't want to live with Indonesia. We are not safe. We more live with the Pacific family. That's our call.
So who would that include? Who do you see yourself more aligned with?
Is because people of West Papua are more closely with the Papua New Guinea, Melanesia. You know, in the Pacific, you got Polynesia, Micronesia, Melanesia. Melanesia made up of the Papua New Guinea, Solomon Island, Fiji, New Caledonia, and Vanuatu. So that is the more connected with the West Papuan people.
Since there's been such a blackout in terms of information getting out from West Papua, you've got people on the ground there, you're speaking with them. What are they telling you about some of the protests?
This is the protest across West Papua, from Jakarta to West Papua. This is the first time ever in our history. Even 2 days ago, Indonesia banned the internet access, but the people are sacrificing their life, and they smuggle some of the news out through the official office. They smuggled. So even this, I'm speaking with my people in back home with the telephone, just without internet. They can send a text message and phone call. And across the West Papua, a place called Nabire, just hundreds of thousands have come out. And there is the last 5 days, it still continue. And now I'm calling this is very serious, and more military are deployed in the region. And so I'm worried that this is what will happen like East Timor 20 years ago, East Timor massacre, bloodshed. I don't want that happen in West Papua because 500,000 men or women have been killed. I don't want to, another 5,000 or 400,000 being killed again. So I really need the world attention, particularly the big country like Canada and America and UK and Australia to put attention on this situation.
Well, let's talk
right
about,
now.
sir, if I may, for a moment, let's talk about how the Indonesian government is responding to all of this. You've mentioned the military presence. We've got more than 1,000 security personnel who are moving in, shutting down the protests. They describe what's happening in West Papua as troublemakers in the streets. So it doesn't seem like things are going to move forward in the positive direction, at least from your perspective. So what do you anticipate Jakarta's next move is going to be?
We call peacefully. We are maintained peacefully from the beginning, where they want that I lead this movement. We call the peacefully transition to our sovereignty. But Indonesia always create the violence. For example, there is a place called Fak. Indonesia, create the militia group, and that's why it started the bloodshed. Also, the Sorong and Manokwari. We already demand peacefully, and Indonesia create the violence. That is the typical Indonesia the last 50 years. So that's why we always maintain it peacefully, because we don't have any, my people are just coming out on the street peacefully way from Jakarta to West Papua. That is our ultimate call is the independent referendum. That is our call to the Indonesian government, particularly President Jokowi. I call to, President Jokowi, let my people go and give us freedom. That is our call.
Well, he has scheduled a meeting for next week, or a visit, I should say, for next week. But you, sir, before I let you go, you've been living in exile from your home since 2003, living in London, which is where we've reached you this evening. What is happening now? Why is this issue sparking up in the area again right now?
Yeah, I almost 24 hours I've been in with my people, contact and 24 hours. And because last 50 years, no one knows, because Indonesia not allow journalists. So that's why Indonesia get away with impunity. But what happening now, Indonesia military and police and the local militia group went to the student dormitory, called them a monkey. Go home to West Papua, go home. I think that is because of last 50 years we are discriminate us as like that word. I myself are facing that discrimination, so racism. That is why this is the truth is come out. All those years, nobody knows. I think that people feel that this enough is enough. Now the time for us to unite, come out and tell the world through this discrimination. So I think that the spontaneity come out, then people are calling for a referendum. That's why Indonesia is scared. If people come out on the street peacefully, they're really scared. That's why they use many ways to trying to calming down, use the violence.
Okay, sir, we will leave the conversation there, but certainly keep watching the story. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Benny Wenda is the West Papua independence leader, and he joined us from London, England.